Hi friends. Welcome to Rising Recap. In a church, a man discovers a pair of glasses that unveils the alien rulers disguised among us. Let's relive the classic story of They Live, the 1988 film that exposed the alien control over society through the eyes of the protagonist's special sunglasses. As George Nada, a homeless laborer played by Roddy Piper, arrives in the bustling metropolis of Los Angeles, he is met with the harsh reality of a nation on the brink of economic collapse. The poor and middle class have been hit the hardest, forced to live in shantytowns scattered throughout the city. As he wanders the streets in search of work, he comes across a rambling street preacher played by Raymond St. Jacques, but his message falls on deaf ears as Nada quickly realizes the ominous presence of the approaching police force. George Nada's search for employment leads him to a construction site in LA, but not without suspicion from his coworker Frank Armitage played by Keith David. Frank is wary of Nada, particularly when he follows him after work. The tension comes to a head when Frank confronts Nada, but he soon realizes Nada is simply looking for a meal and a place to sleep, leading him to take Nada to the shantytown where most of the workers live. As Nada settles in for the night, he can't shake off the strange behavior he observed at the small church across the street. The police helicopter hovering overhead and the people from the church rushing out, all wearing dark sunglasses, piqued his curiosity. His investigation uncovers a sinister secret: the church's soup kitchen is a front for a deeper operation. The so-called choir practice is just a recording, scientific machinery fills the back room, and cardboard boxes are stacked everywhere, including a hidden compartment he stumbled upon. The leader of the group, played by Peter Jason, is aware that Nada is onto their scheme. Suddenly, the street preacher makes a surprise appearance, probing Nada's face with his hands, revealing that he is blind. He takes note of Nada's rough hands from the manual labor and lets him go free. As the night descended, a massive police force descended upon the small church, encircling it, and forcing the inhabitants to flee in terror. But the violence doesn't stop there. The police turned their attention to the shantytown, using bulldozers to destroy it and brutally killing the blind minister of the church. Nada, Frank, and most of the other inhabitants narrowly escaped the destruction. Determined to uncover the truth, Nada returned to the site the next day and investigate the now empty church. Rummaging through the remains, he discovered one of the boxes from the secret compartment. Excitedly, he opened it in a secluded alleyway, expecting to find something valuable, but was met with disappointment when all he found inside was a cheap-looking pair of sunglasses, the same type worn by the church staff when the helicopter flew overhead. Still curious, he kept one pair for himself and hid the rest in a nearby garbage can. As George Nada donned the mysterious sunglasses he found in the abandoned church, he stepped onto the bustling sidewalks of Rodeo Drive. The world around him shifted, the once vibrant hues now appearing in shades of gray. Suddenly, he notices that the billboards around him no longer displayed their original advertisements. Instead, they now bore only the word "obey and consume." A nearby billboard that once showed a picturesque Caribbean beach and urged "come to the Caribbean" now ominously read "marry and reproduce." At a nearby newsstand, all the printed materials now contained subliminal advertising written in capital letters that read, "Obey, consume, sleep, no independent thought, and do not question authority." As Nada stared in disbelief at the messages, a man approaches, but when he looks at him through the sunglasses, he sees a strange humanoid with bulging eyes and mottled skin. As soon as he removes the glasses, the man appears as a normal white male. As the man nonchalantly walked away, Nada couldn't help but be drawn to the money he held in his hand. He noticed that the bills were emblazoned with the words "This is your God." The owner of the newsstand approaches Nada, urging him to move along, but Nada couldn't shake the feeling that this was some kind of sign, a message that he couldn't quite decipher. As the man drove off into the distance, Nada was left to ponder the significance of the words he had just seen. As George Nada continues to wear the mysterious sunglasses, he discovers that many people around him are actually humanoid in appearance, all of them dressed in expensive clothing resembling wealthy businessmen and women. Entering a local grocery store, an altercation with an elderly lady, who speaks through her wristwatch, alerts the humanoid authorities of his location and that he can see. Nada flees the store, running into an alley where two humanoid policemen suddenly appear. When he refuses to answer their question about where he got the glasses, Nada knows they intend to kill him and he takes action, killing both the policemen before stealing a police shotgun. As he evaded the police, Nada stumbled into a local bank filled with humanoids. The jig was up, and he proclaimed, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." Nada opened fire, a shooting spree ensues as he kills many of the humanoids. One of the humanoids sees him and disappears by twisting a dial on his wristwatch. Fleeing the bank and into a nearby parking garage, he forces a woman, played by Meg Foster, at gunpoint to take him to her house in the Hollywood Hills. As Nada finds temporary refuge at the woman's house, he takes off the glasses to rest his eyes. Running his fingers over the bridge of his nose, he remarks, "Wearing these glasses makes you high, but, oh, you come down hard." Desperate to convince the woman, whose name is Holly Thompson, of the reality of the situation, he tries to explain the events of the past hours, but she remains skeptical. As Nada lets his guard down, Holly, an executive at a local TV station, tricks him into turning on the TV, then in a sudden move, shoves him out of her window, sending him tumbling down the hilly slope below her house. He leaves behind his pair of sunglasses for her, but Holly, not daring to put them on, instead calls the police. The next morning, George Nada crept back to the construction site to talk over with Frank, his former co-worker, about his discoveries. With Nada now a wanted man, accused of the shooting spree, Frank was initially uninterested in his story and unwilling to help. Now a fugitive with no one to turn to, Nada returned to the alley where he disposed of the rest of the sunglasses. There, he recovered the box by breaking into a garbage truck that nearly carried it away. Just as Nada was about to lose hope, Frank appears with a bag full of cash, Nada's unpaid wages from the construction job he had been working on before all the chaos began. It was a small glimmer of hope in the midst of their dire circumstances. Seeing that Frank is human, Nada tried to persuade him to put on a pair of sunglasses, but Frank refused, not wanting to get involved and telling Nada that he has a family back in Detroit that he wanted to keep out of trouble too. Determined to convince Frank, the two engage in a long and violent hand-to-hand fight as Nada attempts to force Frank to put on the sunglasses. As the fight raged on, lasting nearly 10 minutes of the movie, Nada finally overpowered Frank and finally puts the glasses on him. Frank now sees the same humanoid aliens around him as well. Nada grinned at Frank, "My friend, life is a difficult game and this one is a real scorcher." With newfound understanding, Frank joins Nada as they checked into a rundown hotel and got in contact with the group from the church. Nada and Frank discover that later that evening, a secret gathering of like-minded individuals will convene at a secluded community center, where they will be able to share insights and plot a course of action against the alien invaders. The community group listened intently as a seminar in the background presented shocking theories, connecting the humanoid aliens to the rapidly increasing carbon dioxide and methane emissions. "It seems they are transforming our world into their own, exploiting our resources without a second thought." Each idea was more staggering than the last, leaving the group to grapple with the reality of the situation and what it meant for the future of humanity. Just as they were deep in discussion, Holly returns, having been won over by Nada's story. She brings valuable information to the rebels about a possible location where the aliens are broadcasting the subliminal messages. With this new lead, the group sets its sights on uncovering the truth and putting an end to the aliens' sinister plans. At the meeting, they learn that the aliens' primary method of control is a signal being sent out through television, which is why the general public cannot see the aliens for what they truly are. But thanks to an unknown but brilliant inventor, a lens called the Hoffman lens has been created. This lens allows the wearer to see the world as it truly is. The sunglasses and contact lenses interfere with the alien's hypnotic signal, allowing the wearer to see the truth. Nada and Frank are given the contact lenses as replacements for the sunglasses. As Nada and Holly strategized their next move, they took a moment to reflect on their past encounter. Holly confessed that after Nada left behind his sunglasses, she put them on and hid them. It was through this experience that she finally came to believe his story and decided to join the resistance. Nada couldn't help but feel a sense of relief and gratitude for her newfound understanding. They are now united in their mission against the alien oppressors. Just as they were discussing, their conversation is cut short as the hideout is raided by the police, who shoot to kill. Some of the resistance members flee outside while the police, a team of both humans and aliens, gun people down indiscriminately. Nada and Frank narrowly escaped into an alley behind the building and got away with the help of one of the wristwatch devices, which teleported them to a mysterious underground facility. They found themselves in a network of underground passages, linking hidden parts of the alien society, including a high-tech portal for space travel. As they made their way through the passages, they stumbled upon an elaborate party being thrown by the aliens for their human collaborators. The speaker at the podium announced the raid that just took place at the Resistance's headquarters. Nada and Frank meet one of the homeless drifters, George Buck Flower, whom they had previously met in the workers' shantytown, who is one of the many human collaborators working with the aliens. Thinking that they have been recruited as he has, the drifter took them under his wing and showed them around the underground facility. With the drifter as their guide, Nada and Frank are led to the studio of a local TV station, Cable 54, the source of the alien signal. With their pistols at the ready, they launch an attack, killing all the alien guards with the intention of shutting down the hidden signal the aliens were using to control humanity. The Drifter, meanwhile, escaped by teleporting himself and sounding the alarm. Arming themselves with assault rifles from the dead guards, Nada and Frank decide to make their way to the roof of the building to shut down the signal, making the world aware of the aliens among them. Nada and Frank embarked on a daring mission, fully cognizant of the fact that victory would come at the ultimate price. Despite knowing that success would bring about their own demise, they pressed on, determined to shut down the signal and sacrifice themselves for the greater good. They charged forward, determined to make a stand for humanity. Nada and Frank found themselves locked in a fierce, adrenaline-fueled showdown as they battled their way through the studio's labyrinthine hallways and offices, exchanging a relentless hail of bullets with the guards standing in their way. Each shot fired echoed through the corridors as the pair fought for their lives in the intense, smoke-filled skirmish. Just as they were making progress, they found Holly, who works at the station. She leads them up to the roof of the building where the dish was broadcasting the signal. Nada bolts up the stairwell, his heart pounding with the thrill of victory within reach. As he bursts onto the rooftop, he turns to see Holly and Frank following close behind. But before he can even register what's happening, Holly's hand snakes out, a gun appearing in her grasp as she presses it against Frank's temple and pulls the trigger. Frank's body slumps to the ground as Nada stands in shock. Through the augmented reality contact lenses he's wearing, he finally spots the source of the broadcast, an antenna towering above him, taunting him with the memories of Frank's death. Holly gets to the roof and takes aim at Nada. Here, Nada finally realizes that Holly was yet another human collaborator with the aliens, and possibly the one who led the police to the rebels' hiding spot. Just then, a police helicopter appears, and the aliens aboard order Nada to step away from the broadcasting antenna. With nowhere to run, Nada was faced with the harsh reality that the fight was far from over. With nothing left to lose, Nada knew that he was a dead man no matter what he did. He pulled out a hidden sleeve pistol and killed Holly. With Frank's death still fresh in his mind, Nada steeled himself and redirected his focus towards the towering broadcasting antenna, his gaze fixed intently on the source of their troubles. Determined to complete the mission, he readies himself for the final push, his mind clear and his objective firmly in sight. Despite being immediately shot and mortally wounded by the alien police marksman in the hovering helicopter, Nada managed to get one final shot off from his small pistol, destroying the broadcasting antenna. In a final act of defiance, Nada raised his middle finger at the aliens in the hovering helicopter as he lay dying on the roof of the building next to Holly's lifeless body, and the ruins of the broadcasting dish. It was a bold, last stand against the forces that sought to control humanity. With the signal now destroyed, people around LA and the rest of the country were shocked to discover the truth about the aliens in their midst. Suddenly, they could see them on TV, chatting with them at the bar, meeting with them at the office, and even having intimate encounters with them. It was a revelation that sent ripples of shock and disbelief throughout the nation as people struggled to come to terms with this new reality. It was a game-changer in terms of how humanity saw itself and its place in the world. If you enjoy this video, click these videos. This is my recommendation for you. Make sure to like the video, and subscribe to the channel.